Welcome to R&R Living Life. In this episode, Rick and I continue our adventure of following the Murray River that forms most of the state border between Victoria and New South Wales. We continue to travel along the Murray Valley Highway through Kahuna to Lake Boga, where we park up, before revisiting Swan Hill and returning to Gidget to enjoy a very spectacular sunset beside the lake. On leaving the historic port of Euchua, we followed the western side of the Murray through Torumbarry, named after the pastoral run of 1842 of the same name. The Torumbarry district was mainly used for dry farming after farm selections occurred during the 1870s, with the township gazetted in 1874. Torumbarry is at the western extremity of the Rochester irrigation district, supplied by the Warrangi Western Channel. More intensive irrigation followed the completion of the Torumbarry Weir, set in the Gunbower State Forest on the Murray River between 1919 and 1924 at the eastern end of Gunbower Island. The weir is about 15 kilometres northwest of the township and serves as a lock on the river and as storage for an irrigation system that extends westwards to Swan Hill, where the system is supplemented by Loddon River storages. The water is carried by gravitation from Thornbarry Weir by the National Channel across the Gunbower Island to the Cow Swamp storage and to Gunbower Creek, with most of the irrigation water going to dairy farming in the area. This whole area between Euchua and Swan Hill has been altered by the introduction of irrigation, individually and on a larger scale. The closer to Swan Hill we got, the small rural townships of Potho, Gunbower, Leachville and Kerrang all had the same story of how they grew from pastoral runs that were later subdivided into smaller farm blocks. The impact on the environment was never a consideration like it is in today's world, with the push to rehabilitate the wetland and watercourses that flow into the Murray. Today, Thorumbarry, Loddon Valley, Cow Swamp are part of the Goulburn Murray Irrigation District, the largest irrigation system covering 9,950 square kilometres in Australia and covering a significant portion of northern Victoria, including both the Euchua and Swan Hill regions, and accounts for more than 70% of water stored in Victoria and almost 90% of water used in irrigation across the state. The Thorumbarry irrigation area is situated around the townships of Kahuna, Kerrang and Swan Hill in northwest Victoria. Natural waterways and constructed channels are used both for irrigation supply and for carrying floods and drainage. Potho is midway between Euchua and Swan Hill, and on the plains there was a mixture of irrigated and dryland farming. The district was taken up as Thorumbarry and Gunbower pastoral runs in 1842 and 1845 respectively. Then, in the 1870s, the runs were partially subdivided for farm selections. Gunbower was gazetted in 1879 on the edge of the tightly wound course of the Murray River. The area to the north also included the Gunbower Forest, just shy of 200 square kilometres, some of which is private land. We left number 1 main channel near Weir Road and continued along the Litchville-Kerrang Road through Litchville. The district was named after the manager of Gunbower Station, Duncan Litch, following his death in 1888, with the township gazetted in 1929. A sawmill was opened in 1916 in the area. In 1945, the dairy factory was acquired by Kraft Walker Cheese Company. Kraft sold the cheese company to the Murray Goulburn Cooperative in 2001, but drought and a 42% fall in milk production over the next 8 years led to its closure of the factory in February 2010, with milk diverted to the milk powder factory in Rochester. The area around Leachville and Kahuna were opened up for farm selections in the 1870s, with private irrigation schemes, the Kahuna Irrigation Trust, and the State Rivers and Water Supply Commission, who converted the Cow Swamp to a storage reservoir, bringing extensive farm irrigation to the district. Cow Swamp, originally a low-lying swamp that was filled when the Murray River was in flood, or running at high level with the Bendigo Creek, providing a small amount of water, is now a permanent water body due to its use for irrigation storage. We then began following the Kahuna Channel left branch to Kahuna, situated on Gunbow Creek, a tributary of the Murray River. In 1874, farm selections became available in the area, with the village proclaimed in 1875. Between 1877 and 1881, there were periods of poor rainfall in the area, and some farmers undertook private irrigation schemes. The Kahuna Irrigation Trust, established in 1887, administered an area of 400 square kilometres and constructed a pumping works at Kahuna. The flat land was ideal for irrigation, with a weir built on the Murray River in 1908 for gravity-fed irrigation channels. Much of the red gum weir structure lasted for around 100 years. Market gardens began in the 1890s, continuing until 1902, when rising water tables appeared to have stopped them, though dairying was more successful, with a cooperative butter factory started in 1906, later becoming part of the Murray Goulburn Cooperative Limited. We passed through Kerrang, near the intersection of the Loddon Valley and Murray Valley highways on the rail line from Bendigo. The first white settlement in the Kerrang area was the Loddon Pine Hills Pastoral Run in 1845. About 8 kilometres north of Kerrang were Reedy, Middle and Third Lakes, with Middle Lake a renowned ibis rookery. We continued on past Little Lake Charm Wildlife Reserve, that is backed by the Stevenson Swamp Wildlife Reserve, and Little Lake Charm. Further on to the west was Racecourse Lake and Kangaroo Lake. It was interesting to see how farmers had used every inch of available farmland to plant their crops, in some places very close to the edge of the lakes. We arrived at Lake Boga around lunchtime, set up Gidget and enjoyed the view across the lake as we ate our lunch. It really was a stunning setting. Situated adjacent to the Murray Valley Highway, the town is on the southwest of the highway, while the actual lake is on the northeast side. Lake Boga was Australia's principal flying boat base and is now home to the Catalina Flying Boat Museum, showcasing its World War II aviation legacy, with a meticulously restored Catalina that rests beside the lake at Catalina Park. The lake was a safe and remote base for repair and overhaul of the Catalinas and was decommissioned in 1947. The museum is located in the secret communications bunker built during World War II. The repair depot serviced aircraft from Australia, US and Dutch air forces. During drought, a number of mortar shells and other explosives have been found in the lake bed. The GrainCorp silos at Lake Boga were painted in October 2023, capturing the historic Catalina aircraft and renowned aviator George Urquhart Scotty Allen against the stunning backdrop of a Lake Boga sunset. After lunch we made our way into Swan Hill, our second visit to the area, our first during our Darling River travels in 2023. Swan Hill, in the northwest of Victoria, is a vibrant agricultural hub. This inland regional city is nestled beside the south bank of the magnificent Murray River, with its unique blend of historic attractions and modern, vibrant facilities. The area was given its current name by explorer Thomas Mitchell while camping beside a hill in 1836. The European community grew up around a punt river crossing, which was established as early as 1846. This crossing serviced the growing agricultural area and was the only river crossing for 100 kilometres. The post office opened in Swan Hill in February 1849. In the early 1850s, a wharf on the Murray River was built and Swan Hill became one of the region's major inland river trading ports. In 1853, Francis Cadell navigated the Murray River from its mouth in South Australia to Swan Hill in his paddle steamer Lady Augusta. He arrived in September 1853, demonstrating the feasibility of river traffic, which flourished until the introduction of the railway. The river trade declined with the expansion of railways. However, agriculture spearheaded the town's prosperity, with the clearing of the surrounding land and the use of the river for irrigation. Vast citrus farms and vineyards surround Swan Hill and extend many kilometres to the northwest. At the junction of the Murray and Little Murray rivers was a pioneer settlement under redevelopment. The settlement aims to recreate the atmosphere of a pioneer riverport town and offers paddle steamer cruises along the Murray River aboard the restored PS Piper, which was built in 1896. Near the pioneer settlement was a historic railway turntable for rotating locomotives and rolling stock, an interesting relic of the steam era. Once we had had our fill of Swan Hill, we returned to Lake Boga, where we enjoyed a stunning sunset. Lake Boga was named by the New South Wales Surveyor General Thomas Mitchell in 1836, originally named as Circular Lake Boga. The lake covers 809 hectares of unimpeded views. The ruts and tracks left by Mitchell's expedition led pastoralists to the area. In 1845, a large pastoral run extending from Lake Boga to Quambatook was taken up. The beginning of closest settlement at Lake Boga began with the opening of the railway line running beside the lake and on to Swan Hill in 1890. The railway coincided with a proposed irrigation settlement east of the lake, extending to the shores of two lesser lakes about 2 kilometres to the west. Township blocks were sold, although the irrigation settlement did not proceed. By the end of the decade, there was a township, and the first of several irrigation pumps were installed. Within a few years, several private water pumping plants were functioning, and a butter factory was built in 1906, with irrigated lucerne pastures stimulating the growth of dairying. The following day, with a very cold start to the morning, feeling like minus 0.1, we made our way back around Swan Hill, where we saw a few interesting farms with some crops just germinating, while others were further along. We travelled beside undulating farmland beside ploughed fields, though I must admit the bitumen was rather narrow in places. Today was another day of left and right turns following country roads through rural localities that support the agricultural industry. We saw a lot of grain silos and depots along our way, as well as rail sidings. We passed through Warrin South, where in 1913 the State Rivers and Water Supply Commission purchased 1,600 hectares of land for subdivision for orcharding. By then, there were irrigation channels drawing water from Long Lake near Lake Boga. Settlers, including several from Mildura, took up farms in the area in 1914. The creation of the Commission's farm lots coincided with campaigns for the extension of the railway line from Swan Hill, which occurred in 1915, with the line passing through Warrinnan South. Along with the railway, the Warrinnan Fruit Growers Association began plans for fruit transport, and a dried fruit packing shed was built in 1921. The packing shed and fruit dehydrator functioned until 1967, when packing was consolidated at Naya West. In 2003, a water pipeline from the Murray River to 200 farm properties was completed, replacing the open channels. The next small rural community we passed through was Chinkapook, northwest of Swan Hill, on the railway line to Menangatang. The district was originally the Eureka Pastoral Run of 1848, north of Lake Tyrrell. In the 1880s, the run was subdivided for pastoral leaseholds, partly with the objective of closer settlement, consequently having more farm fencing as a means of reducing the rabbit population. The township was surveyed in 1903. Water supply channels were scooped out, carrying water from the Union Channel, supplied from a Grampian storage. Around the town were extensive wheat properties, periodically subject to mice plagues, with wheat still being grown in the district today. We passed a couple of large wheat silos and wheat bunkers at the railway sidings as we passed along the way. On our travels we have been seeing the start of many winter wheat crops being planted or paddocks being made ready for planting. Wheat is one of the oldest and most important cereal grains in the world, as it is primarily used in food products such as bread, pasta, noodles, and cereals, and beyond direct consumption, wheat is milled into products like semolina for pasta and couscous, and bran for adding fibre to baked goods and cereals. After some research, I have found out that the area sown to wheat in Victoria has been slowly decreasing, not only with the competition from legume crops and an increased barley area, but also due to climate change, which has caused unpredictable rainfall and hostile temperatures, reducing wheat yields and suitable land. Extreme weather events like floods and droughts, alongside increased pests and frost damage, further decrease yields and grain quality. The grain growing areas are mainly located in western and northern Victoria, predominantly in the Mallee, Wimmera and north central regions, and some parts of southern Victoria's high rainfall zones. In this semi-arid region, with reliable winter rainfall, the eucalypts known as mallee grow as multiple saplings or stems from a large root or lignituber found in sandy loam soils. Grubbing the land of mallee stumps for agricultural purposes was a difficult, laborious and expensive endeavour for the early settler farmers, and as the land could not be easily ploughed and sown even after the trees were removed. To see the land cleared and sown today, I think of those early farmers and how tough they must have been, and to have had such fortitude and endurance to clear the land. We continued along the Robin Vale Salt Lake Road to where the Mallee Highway crosses the railway line at Minangatang, a small town that lies at the heart of sheep and wheat country. Rick and I stopped to have an early morning tea in the Memorial Park. I was impressed by the Aleppo pine tree, a descendant of the original lone pine of Gallipoli. We will leave you for this episode as we find a warm sunny spot out of the cool breeze to enjoy our morning tea. What a morning we have had as we entered the Mallee country, through dry farming land, orchards and some irrigated country. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Give us a thumbs up if you have. Join us next time as we continue our venture along the Mallee Highway to Union and then the Calder Highway to Mildura, again through farming communities. Stay safe and enjoy life. Cheers for now. Rick and Rosemary. R&R, Live in Life.